It's the Range Ronin here, and let me ask you a question. Do you need or want a Primo 1911 with all the bells and whistles, but you are on a budget? Stay tuned, because I may have one for you to ponder. Hey, the Range Ronin here, and on occasion I treat myself to some Chinese cuisine. One of my favorites is known as Happy Family. Happy Family consists of a plethora of palatable ingredients. As far as surf and turf, we have boneless, skinless chicken breast. We have beef, sliced thinly, large prawns, deshelled, and also scallops. As far as veggies, we have broccoli florets, carrots, straw mushrooms, water chestnuts, baby corn, snow peas, green, yellow, red peppers, and green onions. As far as aromatics, there is garlic, ginger, and sesame oil. As far as sauces, there is beef broth, oyster sauce, thin and thick soy sauce, sugar, pepper, and cornstarch. Mix all of this together and serve hot, with a side of wonton soup and a couple of pot stickers and egg rolls. Just makes me a happy camper. But did you know that there is a Western version? There sure is, and it is pretty appetizing to some. Here is a recipe in case you are wondering. As far as meats, there is one Rock Island Armory Rock Ultra 1911 CS, one Rock Island Armory Rock Ultra 1911 MS, one Rock Island Armory Rock Ultra 1911 FS. Now you need 7+1 or 8+1 dashes of 11.43 millimeter ammunition, weighted to taste for each meat item. For aromatics, we have hops, ballastol, or other lubricants, which provide the most pleasing aroma, and burnt gunpowder, a byproduct of the after-meal dining experience. As far as sauces, we don't need sauces, as the recipe stands on its own flavoring. Now the Western version of Happy Family does need some special instructions. You load and shoot until you're satisfied. Ensure that the proper portion is achieved from each meat item for complete satisfaction. You serve at room temperature or any ambient temperature. This serves several purposes: training, practice, self-defense, home defense. But I know that you want to hog it all. You serve with eye and hearing protection. Chopsticks are really not required. It would seem that TSOS 1911 pistols these days are becoming much wanted 1911 pistols due to their prices being relatively low, even in comparison to Armscore, or otherwise known as Rock Island Armory. Does that mean that Rock Island Armory should be sweating over this? Nope, not hardly. I do own a fair share of Rock Island Armory, herein referred to as RIA, 1911 base pistols. I have also made comparisons between RIA pistols against other manufacturers' 1911 base pistols, notably Ruger and Springfield Armory, and RIA 1911 base pistols somehow find their way into my carry rotation and become my constant carry companions until, well, they are rotated out. By now, you should know my fondness for the 1911 base pistol and the 45 ACP rounds in particular. You would think that I have nothing new to say about RIA pistols in general, but the acquisition of the Rock Island Armory Ultra 1911 pistols has completed what I call the Happy Family. The reason for my liking the RIA family of 1911 base pistols is simple: low cost, high quality. The RIA 1911 FS Ultra TAC 2 has not changed my mind in that respect due to the features that are available on the Ultra series. although priced higher than the other Ultra pistols. For example, compared to my early version of the RIA 1911 FS Tactical. By going with the RIA Ultra in all three sizes of the same series, I feel that the RIA 1911 base pistol is conducive for comparing pistols of sameness rather than of differences. But that is just me. This review is for the RIA 1911 FS Ultra Tac 2 in .45 caliber, a full-size 1911 that has a few attributes that I like, and you may as well. So, stay tuned, because I am going to tell you all about it. As I noted in the specifications, the RIA 1911 FS Ultra Tac 2 is now called simply the Ultra FS and will be referenced as such for the remainder of the review. A black parkerized treatment is applied to the slide and frame and is, for the most part, nice and even. Parkerization has been around for a long time, and while it does not have the pizzazz of polished blued steel, it does do the job of protecting firearms and more from the elements. I think that we could all agree that the front end of a 1911 chambered for the .45 ACP cartridge is impressive with its copious effluent point from which the bullet exits. That 5-inch barrel is of the standard John Moses Browning swing-length design that has served well over the ages. You will see the barrel again later. The front of the slide is void of serrations, as now, it seems, is in vogue with some 1911 pistols to accommodate press checking. You probably have noticed that the Ultra FS utilizes a full-length guide rod that is commonly referred to as an FLGR. This is a one-piece unit that incorporates a hole to insert a bent paper clip or such to accommodate field stripping of the pistol. I have found, however, that such is not needed with this pistol. I talk about that in the maintenance segment. A fiber front sight adorns the front of the slide. A fiber front sight, while showing brightly in sunlight, is not all that great in the dim lighting of my favorite indoor range, but it is quite easy to find in outdoor lighting. It seems that fiber front sights are in these days, but I would prefer a good white dot front sight, or even better, a tritium sight with translucent orange or green outline. With that said, the fiber front sight is adequate for most to use during daylight hours. Moving to the rear, the ejection port has been lowered and flared for positive ejection of spent shell casings. The extractor is the common internal type and seems to do its job well of extracting cases from the chamber. And speaking of the chamber, please note that there is not a witness hole at the rear of the chamber for checking to see if there is a round chambered. Finely cut rear serrations on the slide provide an adequate service for racking and releasing the slide. Let's talk rear sight. One feature that I surely appreciate on these pistols is the low-profile, fully adjustable 2-dot rear sight. It is great to simply adjust them for the bullet to impact the target where you want it, rather than using Kentucky sighting to compensate for any elevation or windage issues, or in the case of my FS Tactical, having to file down the front sight to raise the bullet's impact. Before I leave the slide, let me talk about one more thing. The Colt 1911 pistols that I carried at one time, both on and off duty, were known as the Series 80 pistols that had an internal firing pin safety. The Rock Island version is a 70 series pistol that does not incorporate the internal firing pin safety. For most 1911 based pistol people, the 70 series is the preferred version. Today, the RIA version of the government model is known as the FS model, which is an RIA acronym for full size. You will see evidence of this in the maintenance segment. Now, let's get to the frame. The frame is of steel with a parkerized treatment. I was nicely surprised how controls blend well with the frame, with no obvious color mismatching that can occur when parkerization is performed at different stages. In fact, the rear sight is the only somewhat shiny part of the entire pistol. A wide and well-formed ambidextrous thumb safety is at your disposal for placing the pistol in a safe or fire condition. Movement in either direction is positive and distinct. The ambi thumb safety on this firearm is one of the few that I have found that does not pinch my finger when placing it into the fire position. There is a wide enough shelf for my thumb to rest on the safety when shooting. Above that ambi safety is the hammer that is now the common roiled and skeletonized combat type and has enough surface area and serrations for cocking and decocking. Cocking the pistol using the hammer takes a bit of effort, as the mainspring rate is 18 pounds. The hammer has the usual two-position stop notches, quarter cock and full cock. Many carry the pistol in condition 2, hammer down, on a loaded chamber, with the hammer at the quarter cock position, but that is not the intent of the quarter cock position. If the hammer is in the full cock position, and the pistol is dropped, on the hammer or not, and the hammer fell forward, the quarter cock notch is intended to stop the hammer and prevent it from striking the firing pin, thus preventing the pistol from firing. More on that later. Hammer bite on these versions of the 1911 is no longer an issue. There was a time when I dreaded firing the 1911 because I like a high hold on the handle, and hammer bite was inevitable. The 1911A1 was a bit better, but still would catch me off guard at times, due to my fleshy area between the thumb and forefinger. The beaver tail grip safety is excellent at keeping your shooting hand out of the way of the hammer and slide as they do their work. Due to the low bore axis of the 1911, I can get the web of my shooting hand high on the backstrap as possible, while the thumb of the shooting hand rides the thumb safety. To aid in gripping the pistol, the metal mainspring housing is checkered, while the front strap has vertical serrations. One thing that I would like, and it is a personal thing, is an A1 arch mainspring housing, as it conforms to my hand better than the flat mainspring housing. This one may be changed out at some point. So let's get to the grip. The assault on the hand by the G10 VZ grip panels provide an excellent surface to grip even when the shooting hand is wet, although they can become uncomfortable when shooting the pistol for a long period of time. Actually, assault would be a misnomer, but I can't say that these grip panels massage the hands. The Ultra FS is not a target pistol. It is a pistol intended to be a working pistol. The G10 grip panels are secured by black T10 Torx screws. When shooting at the range for practice, I sometimes wear a shooting glove to keep my delicate hands from being damaged while helping to soak up some of the recoil generated when bullets exit the muzzle. I usually swap out the grip panels on virtually all of my 1911 based pistols for my favorite Hogue rubber wraparound finger groove grips. However, I have opted to give these grips panels a fair shake, and one other reason that I will cover later. On the left side grip panel, there is a nice cutout for placement of the thumb. Suits00 mentioned that this is a nice place to put your thumb when shooting. However, for me, it provides a nice channel in which to guide the thumb to the magazine release button, since I am a shooter that places the thumb on top of the thumb safety while shooting. The right grip panel is relieved at the top to allow clearance for the right side thumb safety lever to be placed in the fire position. I do have to be honest here and admit to not liking the G10 grip panels at first. However, I found that to be dependent on the type of G10 panels. There are highly aggressive patterns, as well as lightly aggressive patterns. I find that the G10 grip panels on the Ultra Series pistols to be moderately aggressive panels. The G10 grip panels help to mitigate the pistol moving about in the hand. I found that I was not readjusting my grip as much as some other type of grip panels, and muzzle flip was very moderate, which meant that I can get back on target as quickly as I possibly can. Although I do prefer the whole rubber wraparound finger groove grips, grip panels used on the Ultra line of pistols are more than adequate for my needs. With that said, the grip panels for all the RIA 1911s that use G10 grips are unique to RIA pistols, with regard to the type of thumb safety used with these pistols. If you wish to change out grip panels, be sure to check for compatibility with Rock Island Armory 1911s before purchasing. Save yourself a headache when you find out that what you ordered will not work. If you are observant, and I know that you are, you will notice that the grips are beveled at the bottom. Usually, when a magwell extension is installed, you will find that the grip panels have no beveling at the bottom to make them blend in better with the magwell extension. Those are straight-cut grip panels, of which these are not. The grip panels are not perfectly blended with the magwell shelf, but it's not enough to quibble about, given the cost of the pistol. Some things one must just not bother with. The Ultra FS has a magazine well extension that allows for the unobtrusive carry of 8 + 1 rounds of ammunition. The magazine well extension does not add an appreciable amount of grip length that would affect concealing the pistol. The beveled magazine well extension is a Wilson combat unit that mounts via the lower grip panel bushings and provides quick insertion of the magazines. This type of magazine well means that the grip panels must be relieved of material to accommodate the magwell extension mounting ears. The magwell accommodates an 8-round single-stack magazine, and only one 8-round magazine, an ACT mag, is provided with the pistol. Magazines of this type are widely available at a reasonable cost. And speaking of magazines, there must be a way to capture and release them. That is the job of the, as I call it, the magazine catch and release button. That is located only on the left side of the frame, just behind the trigger guard. The magazine catch and release button is raised, oversized, and has adequate checkering for a positive push. Magazines lock up nicely and are released just as nicely. What say we move to the trigger? The trigger housing is adequately rounded, formed to protect the trigger but with no undercut, and will accommodate a gloved hand. The trigger itself is the now common medium skeletonized 3-hole type with over-travel adjustment. The trigger is excellent, but slightly gritty when new and comes in with a trigger pull weight of 2.88 pounds with a 5-pull average. After use, however, the trigger is smooth, let off is crisp, there is very little take-up, and no over-travel experienced. Speaking of over-travel, and although the skeletonized trigger is set-screw adjustable for over-travel, I found that no adjustment was needed. As a cautionary note, over-travel adjustment should be performed by a qualified gunsmith, unless you absolutely know what you are doing. After all, we are talking about safety, and safety is at stake. Before I forget, the last control is the slide stop, as it is called. The slide stop is extended, well-formed, and well-textured for releasing the slide to chamber a new round once the slide has locked open on an empty magazine. The slide stop has another purpose. That is to keep the slide and frame as one unit. The slide stop assembly pin also is the pivot point for the barrel and slide to engage and disengage. Some teach that once you've reloaded your handgun, you should grasp the slide between your thumb and all four fingers, then forcibly pull the slide to the rear and release. This will disengage the slide stop, and as the slide goes forward, it will chamber a cartridge from the new and fully loaded magazine that you have just inserted. Some advocate using the slide stop as a slide release. They argue that it's faster. It probably is, but pushing down on the slide stop with your thumb is a fine motor skill, and fine motor skills can deteriorate when you're under stress. I use both methods, and I believe that you should as well. It's always good to have a backup plan in case one method doesn't work, or that, for some reason, one method cannot be used. Let's wrap up this feature segment and get to the maintenance of the Ultra FS. The Ultra FS has a full-length guide rod, or FLGR, that many have a love-hate relationship with. The FLGR does not really complicate disassembly and assembly of the pistol, and, in this case, is very similar to field stripping a government model 1911 with a standard short guide rod. Here is how it's done. Safety is first and foremost. First, remove the magazine. Lock the slide back. Inspect the chamber and magazine well to ensure that no live rounds are present. While field stripping the Ultra FS, according to Rock Island Armory, entails the use of a bent paper clip or tool to capture the recoil spring and guide rod, field stripping can be accomplished without doing so. To begin field stripping of the pistol, the hammer should be in the full cock position. Pull or push the slide back to release the slide lock, then slowly release the slide into battery. Place the thumb safety in the up safe position. This prevents the slide from moving to the rear when pressure is applied to the slide. Using a barrel bushing wrench, turn the barrel bushing clockwise until it almost, but not quite, clears the recoil spring collar. Use a thumbnail to press and hold the recoil spring collar down while turning the barrel bushing clockwise until it clears the recoil spring collar. Using thumb pressure, slowly allow the recoil spring and collar to decompress. Remove the recoil spring collar. Place the thumb safety in the off fire position. The hammer can remain in the full cock position. Move the slide to the rear and align the takedown slot in the slide with the slide lock tab. Push the slide lock partially out of the frame from the right side of the frame. Pull the slide lock assembly completely out of the pistol from the left side of the frame. Separate the slide and frame assemblies. Turn the slide so that the internal components are facing up. Remove the recoil spring from the front of the pistol. Use a twisting motion to free it from the guide rod. Remove the guide rod from the slide. Lift and pull it to the rear. Remove the barrel bushing. Turn the barrel bushing counterclockwise until it stops, then lift the barrel bushing up and out of the slide. If the barrel swing link is not forward, lying against the barrel, push it forward and down until it is. Remove the barrel from the front of the slide. The pistol is now fully field stripped for maintenance. Cleaning the pistol involves scrubbing the barrel bore and chamber with a bore brush, dipped in a firearm cleaning solvent to remove firing residue and foreign matter left inside. Use an old toothbrush dipped in solvent to clean the areas around the slide's breech face to remove powder and primer residue. Other parts and areas to be cleaned are the frame and slide rails, firing pin, extractor claws, and other adjacent areas. After cleaning, wipe all surfaces with a clean dry cloth to remove all traces of the solvent and apply a light film of oil immediately thereafter. Inspect all parts when dry. Inspect the pistol for obvious signs of wear, damage, or abuse. You are checking for incorrect installation of parts, unusual finish wear, rust, corrosion, cracks, or peening damage. Look for signs of abuse such as deep scratches, particularly around the slide stop. A slide or frame that is bowed could be signs that the gun has a critical case failure, often referred to as a kaboom. If you would like to download a complete 1911 checklist, I have posted a link in the description where you can download a copy. With that said, external and internal machining is excellent for a reasonably priced pistol. While no match accuracy is claimed, I have the utmost confidence in my RIA 1911 pistols for defensive use. There will be high spots, areas where metal-to-metal contact occurs. This is normal. Follow the lubrication schedule that I present shortly. As a note, and if you will be changing the recoil spring, and you will at some point, Rock Island Armory has published a spring rate guide for each of their 1911 models. When I get a new 1911 in the house, I like to measure the length of the spring, just to get an idea of what the new spring's length is, and use that as a guide when installing a fresh spring, to ensure that proper spacing is maintained under compression. That's a topic for another day. The recoil spring length for this pistol is 5.75 inches. The recoil spring is lighter and longer than that found on the MS and CS versions, and the Ultra FS requires a bit less aggressiveness in its handling over what is needed for shorter-barreled pistols. That is not to say that the recoil spring is weak. On the contrary, the recoil spring, according to Rock Island Armory, has a spring tension weight of 18 pounds. To lubricate the pistol, use a premium lubrication product. Grease is not recommended. If the lubrication product contains Teflon, shake well before using, as the Teflon settles. Lubricate the following parts. Now that everything is properly cleaned, inspected, and lubricated, it's time to put everything back together. To begin assembling the pistol, install the barrel into the slide with the swing length down. Ensure that the barrel is locked into place. Install the barrel bushing. Insert the barrel bushing into the slide and then turn clockwise until it stops. Position the swing length so that it is facing up and to the rear. Insert the full-length guide rod from the rear of the slide. Ensure that the base of the guide rod properly rests on the barrel. Install the recoil spring onto the guide rod from the front of the slide. Ensure that the double coil is toward the base of the guide rod. Use a right twisting motion on the recoil spring to slide it onto the base of the guide rod. With the bottom of the slide facing up, assemble the slide and frame just until the guide rod is just inside the dust cover. Position the pistol so that the top of the slide is facing up. Slowly move the slide and barrel to the rear. Look into the slide lock assembly pinhole in the frame to locate the swing link hole. When you see the swing link hole, insert the slide lock pin into the swing link hole, but not completely into the frame. All we want to do at this point is to capture the swing link. Move the slide to the rear and align the takedown slot in the slide with the opening in the frame. Position the slide lock lever with the slide stop plunger. Slowly push the slide lock assembly straight into the frame. Push or pull the slide forward until it stops. Place the thumb safety in the up, safe position. Install the recoil spring collar onto the recoil spring. Using both hands, slowly compress the recoil spring until it has engaged the guide rod. Use the thumbnail of the strong hand to push the recoil spring down until the recoil spring collar is flush with the front of the slide. Use the other hand to rotate the barrel bushing counterclockwise until it engages the recoil spring collar. Release tension on the recoil spring. Use the bushing wrench to completely capture the recoil spring and collar. Press down and turn the barrel bushing counterclockwise until you hear the recoil spring collar click into place within the barrel bushing. The pistol is now fully assembled and ready for a function check. I normally use a couple of snap caps for function testing. With snap caps, I protect the firing pin stop, check for extraction and ejection, and check that the slide locks back on an empty magazine. However, I leave their use totally up to you. Pull the slide fully to the rear and hold. Allow the slide to go forward slowly while pulling the trigger every 1/2 inch of forward slide travel. The hammer should not fall until the slide is fully into battery. This checks the disconnector operation. Insert a magazine that is loaded with a few snap caps. With the finger off of the trigger, cycle the slide to chamber the first snap cap. The hammer is now in the full cock position and should not follow the slide forward. Without gripping the pistol, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Place the thumb safety lever in the up, safe position. Without gripping the pistol, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Place the thumb safety in the down, fire position. The hammer should not fall. Grip the pistol as you would normally would to fire, pressing in on the grip safety. Pull the trigger. The hammer should fall. For a 70 series pistol, like the Ultra FS, use your thumb to pull the hammer back until you hear the first click. This is the half-cock notch. Grip the gun normally and attempt to pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall for any reason. With the slide fully forward, attempt to push on the barrel hood. There should be little or no movement. Push in on the barrel at the muzzle end. There should be no perceptible rearward travel. Cycle the slide until all remaining snap caps have been extracted and ejected. The slide stop should engage and the slide should stay locked open. Repeat with each empty magazine that will be used with the gun, while checking to ensure that each magazine is captured solidly. Check that each magazine is released properly by pressing the magazine release button. One last check to perform is to lock the slide back and inspect the face of the firing pin hole. Firing pin should not be protruding. If any of the functions checks fail, do not attempt to fire the pistol. Seek out a competent gunsmith, as the pistol is not functioning as it should. Well, with maintenance out of the way, I have a need for some range time. What do you think? I thought that you would agree. If you invest in a Rock Island Armory 1911 base pistol in any sufficient caliber, you may be surprised at the perceived felt recoil in this heavy a pistol. While not soft by any means, stoked with the widely known 45 ACP, the recoil is easily managed if you do your part through a proper grip on the pistol. So, let me not dawdle any further and get myself to the part where we see if the Rock Island Armory Ultra FS and I can work together. The Ultra FS sends 230 grain bullets downrange quite efficiently. Polished feed ramp helps to feed the beast, while an oversized and flared ejection port gets all of those expended cases out of the way very nicely. Today, it is hard to find a 1911 base pistol that does not function near flawlessly, even in low-cost pistols. There are always exceptions, of course. Running Magtech 230 grain FMJ ammunition through the Ultra FS while using several different magazines yielded some interesting results. I had 2 Chip McCormick Power Mag magazines, and both exhibited failures to feed. I was not going to bother with them again, as I have had the same type of failures in other 1911 pistols with these magazines. The remaining magazines, Wilson Combat, Pro Mag, Mechgar, and even the one Rock Island Armory magazine that came with the pistol functioned flawlessly. My choice for carry, Wilson Combat. I also ran 2 magazines of Federal 230 grain high shock jacketed holler points through the pistol, and they ran fine. A little more push into the hand over the Magtech 230 grain FMJ, rated at 735 feet per second at the muzzle, as the high shock is rated at 850 feet per second, which places it at what a good 1911 should run. I like this ammunition, and will be investing in more. Some 185 grain FMJ to test the waters further with lighter, faster bullets will be run through it at a later time. As the pistol breaks in, it will find ammunition that it really likes, regardless of my preferences. Overall, and for the first range time with the Ultra FS, I am well satisfied. The sights were spot on, and the rear adjustable sight needed no adjustment. It was set pretty much to a 6 o'clock hold, and the front fiber sight was easy to see in the range lighting, even with my old eyes. The G10 grip texture, as I mentioned in the features, felt good in the hand. They were neither too abusive or slick. I do miss my A1 Arts mainspring housing, and may work on getting one mounted at a later time. Felt recoil was a typical full-size government model feeling, a snappy push in the hand, but not abusive. Muzzle lift was a bit pronounced. Some of that was me. I am getting over some lower back issues, and I am losing some grip strength in my old age. I can still hold my own to a degree, though. With the exception of one shot that I rushed and pulled low left, I can't complain too much about the day's results. Head shots were confined to the head pretty much, as were the body shots. The trigger's a bit stiff yet, but will smooth out after more range time. Alright, with the first day at the range behind me, let me fill you in on some carry and conceal information. As I have said in the past, and I will repeat in the future, concealed carry of a full-blown 1911 is not any different than attempting to conceal any other firearm. It takes planning and the right combination of support equipment, holster, belt, clothing, etc., to pull it off successfully. The larger the firearm you are trying to hide, the more work goes into doing it. For some, carrying a full-size 1911 is just out of the question. For others who can, there are many products and resources for doing just that. I have 3 favorites for carrying the 1911. The first is the Falco A112 Hawk IWB holster for strong side carry. The second is the Alien Gear Cloak Tuck 3.5 IWB holster, an inside the waistband holster for a cross-draw carry. The third holster, and my favorite, is the Falco D601 Timeless Rotor Shoulder Holster System. Obviously, there are other holster and carrier systems that will serve with distinction as concealed carry carriers. Personally, I am in favor of all-leather holsters, which are much more friendly to a firearms finish than Kydex or Kybrid holsters that are made of Kydex and leather. The parkerized finish is applied evenly throughout the pistol. At first I was not impressed by parkerizing on any pistol, but I have come to appreciate it on a working blue-collar man's pistol, like the Ultra FS. At some point in my 1911 experience, I realized that it does not matter how good the pistol looks. It is a matter of how well the pistol operates and how reliable it is. Among bikers, this would be referred to as chrome don't get you home. My former carry, the Rock Island Armory 1911 FS Tactical, is showing signs of holster wear and shell casings bouncing off the finish of the pistol. It has developed a character of its own because of it. I suspect that the Ultra FS will as well. The Ultra FS is the atypical government model 1911 base pistol, in that the barrel length is 5 inches. At 2.5 pounds, the Ultra FS is certainly not a light pistol to carry, but I do prefer heavy over light when shooting them. Add another 5.86 ounces to the equation, and the carry weight would be around 43.5 ounces, or 2 pounds and 11 ounces. That, to some, is simply too much weight to carry around. But the weight of the pistol is not an issue to me. Performance is. The Armscore Rock Island Armory pistols are some of the best-selling 1911 base pistols in the marketplace. They carry a lifetime warranty, and Armscore customer service is excellent. I can attest to first-hand experience with that. Rock Island Armory has listened to their customer base and delivered what I believe are some of the finest affordable working man's pistols that can be found. And they are available in favored calibers from 22 to 10 millimeter. If you like an old-school pistol with modern features and don't mind a little weight on your side, I don't believe that you can go wrong with an all-steel Rock Island Armory 1911 in your holster, regardless of caliber. My happy family will cover all-season IWB carry for me. The Ultra FS takes care of the cold weather concerns, and the Ultra CS would take care of my hot weather carry, and with the Ultra MS handling anything in between. I'm pretty well covered in guarding the body. In my opinion, the Ultra TAC 2 pistols fulfill the need for an excellent 1911 base pistol that can be used for EDC, range, or home defense. That's my take, and your mileage may differ. Well, my friends, once again I have come to the end of another chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicles, and I am happy that you stuck with me on this particular journey. More gun and gear reviews are forthcoming, and I hope that you can join me for them. Until we meet again, be vigilant, stay armed, and stay safe out there.